Let's delve more deeply into the issue of immigration. 66% support comprehensive immigration reform. Down a little bit from the June wave, 71-29. Still about 2/3 of the public that's behind that. Of course, what does that really mean? Generally, comprehensive immigration reform means dealing with the issues of the people who are here and giving them work permits or a path to citizenship if they're responsible citizens, and on the other hand, really closing the borders and getting a handle on the immigration system and maybe getting rid of the lottery and making some other changes that make it more merit-based. So far, we seem to be farther removed from a comprehensive immigration deal than at any point that I can remember, even as public support for it continues to be in the very solid majority. So, more specifically, would you favor or oppose a deal between Congress and President Trump that gives undocumented immigrants brought here by their parents work permits and a path to citizenship in exchange for increasing merit preference over preference for relatives, and then eliminating the diversity visa lottery and funding barrier security in the U.S.-Mexico border? 62%, again, down a little bit from 66%, so a little bit of the consensus is cracking. 38% oppose. It's more important to keep in place the current immigration system that gives preference to legal immigrants that have a relative in the United States. That's 48%. Or should we change to a merit-based system that gives preference to legal immigrants based on skills and education? 52%, about the same as we came up with in June. Do you think there is a growing humanitarian and security crisis at our border with Mexico, or is this mainly a manufactured political crisis ahead of the 2020 elections? Remember when Democrats were out there with the talking point about manufactured political crisis? Well, at that time, most people were buying that it was a manufactured political crisis, but not anymore. Today, 58% say it is a growing humanitarian and security crisis. This problem with immigration is seen as real. That's why it's the number one issue in the country today. How many people do you think are caught trying to enter through the southern border each year? That number is actually as high as 100,000 a month. Very few people think that it's as high as that. Most people think it's 10,000 to 100,000 a year. Last month, 100,000 people were intercepted. Do you favor or oppose the decision by the president to declare a national emergency? Now, again, if I went back a few months, people roundly opposed the decision by President Trump to declare a national emergency. Not anymore. 52% favor him declaring a national emergency, given that the numbers have reached where they are. Are border barriers effective? 52% find them ineffective. 48% find them effective. This is about as polarizing an issue as you get in the country. Why whether or not why offense is effective or not has become politically polarized. You believe it if you're a Republican and you disbelieve it if you're a Democrat. But that's what happened. Partisanship and facts have commingled, so that this is probably a very important predictor question on whether someone is Democratic or Republican. Should people fleeing general violence in a country be able to seek asylum here, or only political or religious violence aimed specifically at them? Again, close question. 52% say only those fleeing political or religious violence aimed at them. Should the current asylum laws be loosened to accept more claims, tightened to accept fewer claims, or kept as is? Here, there's a real consensus. 47% say tightened, 22% say loosened, 32% say kept as is. A substantial group of people, 47%, are looking for tightening of the system. Should people with questionable asylum claims be let into the United States until their case comes up, or should they immediately be turned back to Mexico for staging? So, should they be let in the U.S. for years until their case comes up? 38% say they should be let into the United States. 62% say they should immediately be turned back. This is powerful support for one of the Trump policies that's consistently blocked by federal judges. So you can see here the public runs hot and cold on immigration, depending upon the specific issues, caught between their desire to be, compassionate and open, and their desire to also have borders that work and an immigration system that is strong and healthy.